Welcome to Microsoft PowerPoint Tips and Tricks. You're learning with Mo Jones, IT professional and educator. In this course, we'll take a look at the concept of starting with an outline. We'll also take a look at several design options with the Slide Master. We'll also learn about some tips and tricks when working with objects on a slide. And we'll take a look at some animations and transitions as well. So let's go ahead and open up PowerPoint and let's get ready to dive in. Let's go ahead and enter outline view. So here's my presentation. I do have an idea of kind of the outline of what I want to use for my slides. So I'll click on the View tab here, and on the View tab, I want to head on over to the outline view. So I'll go ahead and click here, and here's the outline view. So from here, I can go ahead and press the Enter key, and that basically inserts another slide for me. So maybe I want to talk about a successful marketing campaign. So my first slide is going to be about, I need to define objectives. And then I'll go ahead and press Enter, and that gives me my other slide here. So my next slide will be to determine the budget. I'll go ahead and press Enter. So I can use the outline view just to kind of set up my slides here. I'm not necessarily adding the content. I can if I want to. I still have the capability right here to insert my content. But from here, I just want a nice high level option to be able to add my outline here. So I have defined objectives, determine the budget, and maybe develop the message. So far so good. So I'll go back to normal view and let's see what this looks like. So as you can see, just by using the outline view, I already have my 4 first slides here that I can use. But there's a better way to do this. What if I had a Word file that already has my kind of outline in here? And I do happen to have a Word file. So here's a Word file, and here's kind of just a little guidance here on how to have a successful marketing campaign. And here are kind of the different points here, kind of a timeline. At the end, we want to report and reflect. So instead of typing these out manually, I want to use the option. Let's see if I can use this outline and import it into my PowerPoint. I'm going to delete these slides first. So I'll just delete these here. I'll delete the title slide as well. And what I'm going to do from the Home tab, when I click on New Slides, there is an option here on the bottom to insert slides from outline. So I'll go ahead and do that. Now, in order for this to work, you need to have a Word file, and all of your slides need to use the heading 1 style. Let's take a quick peek at my Word file here. So we can see that the first slide here, defining your objectives, it's using the heading 1 style. So as long as you have the heading 1 styles in here, PowerPoint will scan the document, locate all of the text that has that heading 1 style, and it will create your slides based on those as well. I'll go ahead and close this. Make sure it's closed before we use it. And here we go. So I'll click on New Slide, and I want to use slides from outline. I'll go ahead and click on my successful marketing campaign Word file here. I'll click on the Insert tab, and it's kind of scanning the document, and it should populate all of those slides for me. And there we go. So here's the first one, is successful marketing campaign. This one came up blank. I'll go ahead and delete this one here. So here's define your objectives, determine your budget. So I can see I now have all the slides that are in here. So I'm good to go. Now I just need to go ahead and add my content, or maybe just kind of set up all of the slides here to have a unique or a similar layout. So that's kind of the first tip. Use the outline view to start building your actual slide deck. Now that I've inserted all of my slides from my Microsoft Word outline, I'll go ahead and choose a design. So I can choose an existing design. So here are the basic office themes that are available. So I can either use an existing one or I can make my own. So notice here I have some custom themes that I can actually use. So I'll go ahead and create my own theme. So to do that, I need to access the Slide Master. So I'll click on the View tab. I'll head on over to the Slide Master here. And this will give me some really nice options. There are many things that we can do, but for now, I just want to go ahead and choose a color palette. And I want to go ahead and choose the font that I want to use for my presentation. And I can also choose some of the effects that are available as well. So I'll go ahead and scroll up to the top. When you click on the Slide Master, it immediately places you on the slide layout that you were on before you came here. So I want to scroll all the way to the top and click on that very top slide. This is the actual master slide. So any changes that we make here will translate through the entire presentation. But what I want to do right now, I just want to create my own theme. So to make my own theme, I need to choose a color palette. So I'll scroll down here. Here's the newer Office color palette, which is pretty nice. I want something with a little more contrast. So either Marquee or Slipstream. I'll click on Marquee, and there we go. I'll also go ahead and choose the font. So I can hover over these different fonts to kind of see what they look like. That's a little too thin for me. That's a little better, but a little outdated. I'll go for the Franklin Gothic here. Right. I'll just double click here to make sure. So here's the Franklin Gothic. So it comes with two. So we have the heading styles for that font, and we have the body style. So here my headings and titles will have that little more of a bold feature there, whereas the body just has the plain. It does not have the bold in there. So I've chosen my colors, my fonts. I'll also go ahead and click on the effects here, and I'll just go for the frosted glass effect. And that's it. So now if I want to modify the colors are available based on that color palette that I've chosen here. What I want to do now, I just want to go ahead and save this theme. So to do that, I'll click on the themes drop down here. And at the very bottom, I want to go ahead and save the current theme. It's going to save to the default template folder on my computer. So I'll go ahead and save it here. As you can see, I have several themes. This is perfectly fine. I'll just leave it as theme 4. I'll go ahead and press save, and I am good to go. So that is how we create a theme in the Slide Master. Now for the background styles, while I'm here, I might as well go ahead and do that as well. Different backgrounds that we can choose from. We can see style number 9 has a gradient, so it goes from dark to light at the top. You can also create your own background, so you can use a gradient fill, you can use a picture or text, you can use a pattern, or you can go for a solid fill here as well. So it all depends on what you want to do. For this one, I just want to use a simple background gradient fill, and I'm good to go. I'll go ahead and close the master view. I'll go back to my presentation. And I can see some of those changes are already taking place here. If I click on the Design tab now, and I go to take a look at the Custom area, I should be able to find that theme that I just created. So here it is, it's theme 4. Now I can use this theme each time I open PowerPoint. So I've imported my slides. I have also created my own theme. But if I take a look at my presentation here, because I inserted these slides from an outline, it comes with the Times New Roman font. Not sure why, but I can go ahead and change this, right? So I can click here and I can go ahead and choose the default font for my presentation. But I need to do that for each of my slides here. I don't want to do that. I want to go ahead and make the universal change in the Slide Master. So let's see if I make the change in the Slide Master, if all of these will update automatically to reflect the color and the font that I've selected. I'll click on the View tab and I'll go back to the Slide Master here. We'll do a little bit of troubleshooting. I'll click on that very top master slide. And for right here, I'm going to click in here. We can already see that it has that particular font. I'll choose the color. So all of my titles are going to have this nice, I'll go for a darker version there. So I'll go for this color, the aqua. All of my level 1 items are going to have a nice little contrast in here. So I'll go for, let's see, I'll go for that color right there. So Franklin Gothic. So I'm good to go. If I take a look at my other layouts and I scroll down, I can see it appears that they all have inherited that formatting. I'll close the master view, and if I click on my second slide here, I can see it looks pretty good. I can see that I can see the Franklin Gothic here for the body, but it's not changing for the actual titles. So that's a little bit of a problem. So how do we overcome that? Well, this is all about tips and tricks. Let's see how we can overcome that when the Slide Master is not updating your titles. I'll head back over to the outline view. So I'll click on the View tab here. I'll go back to the outline view, and I can press Control A, or I can just manually select all the slides here in the outline view. So now it's focused on the headings. Once I have them selected in this manner, what I can do is click on the Home tab, and I can go ahead and reset the formatting for all of those titles at once. So I'll go ahead and click here. And now we can see when I've done that, it resets it to the default, which is the Franklin Gothic 44 and the actual color. So if I were to click on any of these slides, I can see that the changes have been made. So that's just one tip or trick to overcome, your universal changes in the Slide Master not updating your entire presentation. We run into that option when we either reuse slides or we use the slides from an outline option. So just go into the outline view, select all of your existing slides, and just hit the clear option here. And that will reset everything back to the default settings that you have established in the Slide Master. The next tip we'll talk about is how to manage multiple Slide Masters. So whenever you reuse a slide from another presentation, which is a really good thing to do, maybe you already have a slide layout that works really well. So I'll click on Reuse Slides here. If you don't see it here on your home screen, on your home tab rather, you can click on New Slide, drop down at the very bottom, you should see Reuse Slides. If you click on the Insert tab as well, you should see the Reuse Slides appear here and also from the drop down. So it opens up the pane over here on the right, and I'll just scroll through here. I do have a template called Reuse, so I'll go ahead and click on Choose here. And I have a really nice slide layout in here. So here's slide number 2. So I can see it has nice 3 columns, text, picture, and SmartArt. So I'll go ahead and click here to insert that. And it's a nice looking slide, nice and clean. And that works. Well, let me go ahead and click on the Slide Master here. So I'll click on the View tab. And I will click on the Slide Master. Because I reuse the slide from another slide deck, it creates a second Slide Master. So here's my first master slide here. And here are the different layouts that comes with that particular Slide Master. We can see that they're all inheriting the formatting from that master slide. If I scroll to the bottom, here's that second. Some presentations may have 2 or 3 Slide Masters in here. So we do have a custom layout in here underneath this master slide. So if I click on here, I can see it has a different font. So it's using that Aptos display font. Well, that's a problem. If I want this layout to be available underneath my original slide master here, what I can do is I can just go ahead and drag this into this underneath this hierarchy here for my master. And what that will do, that's going to go ahead and change the font, size, and the colors. So any formatting that I've specified for the master slide above, it will inherit it. But first, I'll close the master view. I'll take a look so we can see we have a different color. We have a different font in here as well. So I'll go back to the slide master and I'm just going to move this up. I can place it anywhere I want to. I'll just put it right here. And we can see right away, just by moving it, it's already inheriting the colors, the fonts, and the effects from the slide master above. I'll click on close the view here and we can confirm we're using the Franklin Gothic. We're using the same color in here as well. So if you're dealing with multiple slide masters, you can move things around. As a matter of fact, I could even go ahead and delete this master slide down here. I no longer need it and I'm good to go. So feel free to move things around from one slide master to the next, or you can go ahead and actually insert a slide master and you can have your own section of individual formatting in there as well. The next tip and trick we'll talk about is custom layouts. Now, if you're like me, I find myself doing this a lot. I find myself just kind of moving things around on the slide, resizing the content placeholder, changing the location of the title. Typically, I like a 2 or 3 column orientation, or maybe even inserting a really nice big picture in here. So typically, a lot of times my slide will end up looking like this. So I have the title on the left. I have a picture placeholder. Then I have either text or SmartArt graphic over here. So I insert a lot of pictures into my presentation. Now the benefit of inserting a picture inside of a content placeholder is that it tends to fit inside of that placeholder. So instead of inserting a picture and then resizing it, you can just go ahead and create a layout that has a placeholder for the actual picture. So I'll go ahead and create one here. I'll click on the View tab. I'll head back over to the Slide Master. And I want to go ahead and insert a slide layout. We can see the structure of this particular slide, the one that we clicked on, has the title on the left. Here's the picture placeholder in the middle. And then we have text over here on the right. I could modify this one, or I can actually duplicate this one and just kind of modify this as well. But I'll insert a new layout. So I'll click on Insert, New Layout, and then I'll go ahead and insert my placeholders for that particular slide. I'll insert my layout. So it comes with my footers and it comes with my title here. I'll insert a placeholder to the middle for my picture. And I'll just kind of draw this here. I'll use the footer here in the middle as a guide in terms of how big I want that picture to be. And I'll go ahead and move. Well, for now, I'll just put maybe I want this to actually be a bigger picture. So I'll go ahead and make this a really nice big picture here. My title is going to be centered right on top of the picture. And then over here to the right, I'll add some text. So I'll insert a placeholder for text. I'll just draw this over here. And this is going to be a pretty nice looking slide. I'll use a little more room, so I'll go there. That looks pretty good. I'll rename this slide. So I'll right click on it and I'll go ahead and give it a name. I'll just call this Pick and Text. I'll go ahead and click on rename here and I'm good to go. I'll go ahead and close the master view. And now I can go ahead and insert a new slide. And here is my Pick and Text layout. So I can go ahead and insert that in here. And now I can go ahead and just enter some content in here. So I just added some content in here. Determine your budget, evaluate, calculate, and secure funds. Now I'll go ahead and click on the icon here to add a picture. And this is an actual from the computer. So I want an online picture. So I'll go ahead and change that. I'll click on go back to the slide master, and this should have been an online picture, online image. So I'll go ahead and change that, make it the same height. So I'll go ahead and close the master view. And so now I'll go ahead and change the layout to pick and text. There we go. So now I can go ahead and grab an image, something related to budget. Let's see what this will look like here. So anything related to budget, I'll go ahead and grab this image here. I'll insert that. And we can see it fits nicely into that content placeholder over here. So this is a really nice looking slide. The only other thing that I would do is I'll go ahead and center align the text over here. So I'll go back into the slide master one more time. And for here, I'll highlight all the text in here. And for the shape format, I want to go ahead and center align the text. So I'll click here. Now I'm not seeing all the options here, so I'll just right click on the actual content placeholder and I'll click on size and position. And it opens up a pane over here on the right. I'm concerned about the text box, and here for the vertical alignment, I'll choose middle. And we can see that everything will be aligned to the middle here. I'll go ahead and close this, and then I'll close the slide master. And now we can see it looks a little more balanced. We can see that we have the text that's center aligned on our image. And this image, well, I'll just go ahead and move this over just a little bit here. Right? Doesn't fit perfectly in there. And there we go. So that's a pretty nice looking slide. So there you go. So that's how we can create a custom slide layout. Now, for another tip is what we can do is we can just create a slide template that has all of those layouts that we want to be able to reuse over and over and over again. So I am going to, let's see, I'll go ahead and create a new slide. So I'll go ahead and press Control N for a new presentation rather. And in this presentation, I'm just going to have the different layouts that I want. So I'll go ahead and grab this custom layout. I'll grab this one as well. I'll just copy them. I'll go ahead and paste them into that new presentation. So I'll just go ahead and paste. I'll keep the source formatting. And let's see if that preserves everything here. So here we go, Franklin Gothic. Franklin Gothic. Let's check and see. So I'll insert the new slide and let's see if those layouts are in there. And I can see that they're actually in here. So here's the custom layout. Here's the pick and text. And then I can go ahead and add any other layouts in here that I want to. Now this is good because once I save this as a template, I can go ahead and reuse slides from that actual template. For example, if I wanted to reuse a slide here from my standard deck here, I can choose content. And I automatically have some really nice slide layouts in here that I can actually use. Right? So the whole idea is just to go ahead and build the slide layouts. We don't necessarily need to have these slides in here. We can actually just go ahead and insert that layout. So I'll just put the custom layout in here. I'll go ahead and add the pick and text. Then I can just go ahead and delete these two slides. So I just want to preserve the layouts that are in here. It's also going to lock in the current theme that we're using. So if I click on the design tab, I can see that for this presentation, here's the theme that I'm currently using. So everything will be locked in. So I just need to go ahead and save this file as a template. So to do that, I'll just click on the File tab. I'll click on Save As. And instead of saving it as a PowerPoint presentation, I want to save it as a template file. So I'll look for PowerPoint template, which is right here. And once I do that, I am good to go. So I'll give this a quick name and I'll just call this let's see, custom slides. And I'll save that as a PowerPoint template. It saves in the custom office templates folder. I'll go ahead and press save. And there we go. So all those changes that we've made, colors, fonts, effects, slide layouts, they're all preserved. I'll go ahead and close this one here. And let's see if I reuse a slide. It may not come up right away. Actually, here it is right here. So I can choose a layout from that particular slide deck here as well. So that's how we can save all of our changes in the slide master. We can save it as a template that we can reuse over and over again. For our next tip and trick, we'll take a look at working with objects. So I'll just insert a title only slide here. And we want to insert some objects in here. Now, I can go ahead and click on the Insert tab, and text boxes are really, really cool because I can go ahead and insert a text box. And I can go ahead and add my content to the text box here. And what's really nice about the text box, if we click on the Shape Format tab for the text box, we have some really nice quick styles in here that we can use. I'll move it over here so we can see it a little better. So I really like to use text boxes in my presentation because we have a lot of really nice different styles in here that we can use, different effects, gradient, gloss, shadow, reflection. So a lot of pretty nice options here. I'll go ahead and I'll choose this one here. It's the intense effect red. Now the other thing that we can do with our text boxes is we can actually edit the shape. So we can convert this into another shape. So in the Insert Shapes command group, I can click on Edit Shape here, and I can morph this into something else. So for example, I can click on Change Shape here. I can convert it to a rounded rectangle, or I can go for another type of visual. Maybe I'll go for this arrow here, so pentagon. And so kind of gives it that nice little detail right there. So now what I can do, I can kind of maybe move this around. And if I want to, I can go ahead and resize it. I'll change the shape to something else. Maybe I'll give it I'll give it an arrow pointing to the right. So text boxes are pretty cool. There's a lot of customizations that we can use. We have styles. We even have shape effects that we can use. We can apply a shadowy effect to it or different reflections. So they're really, really nice. But the main thing to know about text boxes, you don't necessarily need to do that. What I like to do is I like to just insert shapes because in theory, shapes are actually text boxes. For example, if I were to insert the same pentagon arrow here, I'll go ahead and just draw it. What's really cool about shapes is that we can just type right on top of it. So maybe I want to go ahead and kind of maybe talk about phase 1 of our marketing campaign. Okay, so now I can just start typing right here. So I can type on it, define your objectives. And so we kind of taken care of two things at once here. We already have the shape. We don't need to convert it to something else. And we can type right on it. Now, this is also an object or a shape, so we have the shape styles in here. So I can go ahead and change this if I want to. So I have different shape styles that I can use. I'll go ahead and use, let's see, I'll just go for this row here. I'll go for an orange color. I'll go ahead and move this over to the left. And now what I can do is I can go ahead and insert another shape. So I'll go ahead and insert another shape in here. And this time I'll go ahead and use maybe my chevron here. And I can go ahead and draw that. So we're just kind of expressing phase 1 in 3 steps, right? So again, this is a shape. So for this one, I'll just type determine your budget. So there we go. So there's determine your budget. And now I can just kind of place them together like that. That looks pretty cool, like a nice little infographic. Well, what I can also do when working with shapes, we can duplicate shapes. I don't feel like, inserting another shape and fitting it to size. I want it to look exactly like this one. So if I press Control plus D on my keyboard, that duplicates that shape for me. And now I can come over here and just position that right in here as well. I can also change this, give it a little contrast. Maybe I'll do something like that. We'll change the font color inside here to maybe a high contrast color. I'll just go for white here. Right. So those are just some basics when working with our actual objects. Now what I like to do, I like to go ahead and group them together. So we'll cover that in our next lesson. Now I do have my three shapes here, but we can see that they're not really aligned. So what I'll do is I'll go ahead and group them together. So I'll click on my first shape, I'll hold down the Control key, I'll click on the second one, and then I'm still holding down the Control key, I'll click on the third one here. So what this does, this groups them together, so now I can move them in unison, and I can resize them as well. I do want to kind of center it on the canvas here. So I'll just go ahead and kind of make them a little bigger or smaller if I want to. I'll click on the Shape Format tab. I can raise the height. So I'll just make them a little taller and a little wider here. I just want to make it wide enough so that my actual text is displaying properly. Right. Now, as far as alignment, I can't really tell if I'm aligned, to the middle, both vertically and horizontally. So what I'm going to do is click on the View tab, and I can turn on the ruler that kind of shows me where I am in relation. So here's 0.0 vertically. And here are the grid lines. So I can actually turn on the grid lines as well. Let me change the background color to black. It will be a little easier to see those here. So I'll choose a solid fill and I'll go for a black background. So now we can easily see those grid lines here. So now if we want to align these objects, we can align them properly. We can make sure that they're the same height and so forth and so on. I'll place my first object here about right here, and everything else will be aligned on that one. Now what I can do, if I go ahead and highlight them or group them together like this, and I click on the Shape Format tab, if I click on a line, I do have the capability to distribute them horizontally. So let's see if that will work for me. So it just kind of evenly spaces them out for me. But let's see, I'll move this over to the far right. And now I'll try that again. I just basically want to use up all the row space here within the margins. I'll try that align or the distribute horizontally again. And that looks a little better, right? So they're evenly distributed here as well. That looks pretty good. I'll go ahead and change the text for here though. This third one should be develop your message. So that looks pretty good. I'll go ahead and put the background back to normal now. So that's one way, just turning on the grid lines, we can kind of see where our objects are in relation to each other. I can see this one is a little taller than the others. So I'll just come down just a little bit here. Make sure everything is okay. And I'll put my background back to normal here. So I'll just reset the background and I'm good to go. Now we do have guides as well. I'll turn off the grid lines. I'll leave the ruler turned on and here are the guides. So here's our vertical guide and here's our horizontal guide. So this lets us know where we are in relation to those two vertical guides. So that's a nice tool. Just turn it on and you'll be able to have a better idea of how your objects interact with each other. Now, as I move my objects as well, we get these temporary guidelines. Guidelines kind of gives us a lot of clues where we are in relation to the end of the slide here in relation to the horizontal and vertical plane, in relation to another object, the distance between two objects. Right? So we can always use those to our advantage. I do want to increase the font size, so I'll go ahead and group all of these together here. And let's see, the font size is 18. I prefer it to be at least 20. So I'll just make it 20 here. And let's see. It's hard to see this one, so I'm going to go ahead and make this one a little wider. And this one doesn't need to be that big. Right. And then once again, I can go ahead and do the same thing I did before. Just distribute them horizontally. Let's see what happened here. There we go. So everything is aligned pretty nice. So using the shapes to your advantage, you can type right on top of them. We have a lot of effects that we can use, built-in styles. We have shadowy effects that we can use, and some other things there as well. I'll go ahead and give these all a nice little reflection. And there we go. I'll turn off my guides and my ruler. And there you go. It's a pretty nice looking slide, almost like a timeline or a step-by-step process here as well. Another tip and a really nice trick in PowerPoint is the use of the eyedropper. So sometimes we're looking for a particular color, but we just can't find that color here. So for example, if I wanted to convert my text here in my heading to one of these colors in this picture, maybe this little gold here, if I try to find that, it's pretty difficult to find it unless I know the exact color value, which I don't. So what I can do is use the eyedropper. Eyedropper is right here. It allows me to select a font color by clicking anywhere on my screen. So I'll click on the eyedropper here. And the way that this works is, if I want to apply this color, if I just pause over it, it tells me the name of the color, which is tan, and it gives me the RGB value as well. Let's try another one here. So a little variation because of the light. This is a light yellow. And this one is a tan as well. So if I wanted to apply that, I could. I can also apply this color, that teal. I'll go ahead and click on the teal. And there you go. So we can borrow a color from another object that's on our screen. Now I can also grab a color that's not on my slide. All I need to do, if I move away from my slide, the eyedropper disappears. Actually, let's see. Yeah, there you go. So it disappears. So if I want to be able to grab a color from another place on my screen, I just simply need to hold down the left mouse button. And now I can drag it. I can pull in this color from the designer, from the share icon, this nice color here, that light yellow. So I can pull in any color that I want just by using the eyedropper. Typically, what I would do with the eyedropper is build a color palette based on an actual picture. So I'll just insert a few shapes here. So you can use the eyedropper. I'll just duplicate these here, and I'll pull in 4 colors from that picture. So you can use the eyedropper on your slide. You can grab colors from another website, as long as you just hold down the left mouse button and drag it off of your slide. But in this case, for the shape format, for the shape fill, we also have the eyedropper. So I want to go ahead and grab this color. And then I'll grab maybe this color in here. I'll just keep grabbing any color that I want. I'll go for a nice little gray here. I'll go ahead and grab one more. Let's see. Why not? I'll grab this yellow. And there we go. So just some nice colors in here that we can use. So that is the eyedropper. Allows us to borrow colors from another object and it saves those recent colors for us so we can use them over and over in our presentation. Another type of object that we can insert is an image, which is probably the most popular option here. Now there's two different experiences when you're adding images to a slide. You can either click on a blank area on the canvas and insert your image, or you can click inside of a picture placeholder or a text box and insert your image. I'll do the first one. I'll go ahead and just click on an empty space here. And I'll click on the insert tab and I'll look for an online picture. Or you know what, maybe I'll grab yeah, that's fine. I'll grab an online picture here. I'll look for something related to objectives. I like this picture here. I'll go ahead and grab this one. So as you can see, it doesn't really behave. It's much larger than the actual slide in terms of the height. Now I can resize this by, using one of the corner resize handles here that maintains the aspect ratio. So I can do that, but you may not want to do that. You may want it to just fit inside of a content placeholder. So I'm going to go ahead and delete this picture. And if I try to add it in here, this is a text placeholder, so it's still not going to work. So what I want to do, this is where using the slide master comes in. Remember, I have that picture and text layout here. I'll convert this slide to that layout. And now here is my little icon here. So I can actually click on the stock image here and insert it. But this will not have access to that same picture I just found because these are the stock images. So for example, if I click on objectives here, I have a smaller list because I'm confined to the Microsoft library. But let's see if I click inside of this content placeholder and insert that same image. Let's see if it will fit inside of there. So I'll look for objectives, just like I did before. I'll press enter. Here it is. Let's go ahead and insert that. And as we can see, it fits nicely into that content placeholder. So I'll just snap this to the right and I'm good to go. Now, the picture comes with a lot of tools that we can use to format. Once I click on the picture, if I click on the picture format tab, just like my other objects, I have styles, I have effects, and I can crop it as well. And over here, a lot of tools that we can use. Sometimes when you insert a picture, it comes with its own dimensions. So maybe it's 16 by 9, maybe it's 4 by 3, maybe it's landscape, maybe it's portrait. And you kind of struggle to kind of get the picture to look exactly the way that you want it to look. Well, one of the things that we can do is we can crop this picture. So if I click on the cropping tool here, notice I can crop it to a shape if I want to, but I want to take a look at the aspect ratio. So if I wanted to make this more square, I can use the square option here. If I want it to be more portrait, maybe 4 by 5, I can use that. I can also use the landscape to do that as well. I'll choose the portrait. I'll go for 4 to 5 here. And we can see it's more tall than it is wide. So it basically crops the left and the right side of the picture. You can do that manually, but this is going to crop it to those exact dimensions. I'll go ahead and undo that. And I'll click on the picture format again. Let's see what the 16 by 9 looks like. So we can see it's trimming the top and the bottom, and this gives it a more wide orientation. So the wider images are more appealing to the eye, right? We're kind of used to the wider screens now. So you can use that as well. So you can either manually do that, or you can just go ahead and use one of the cropping tools. The other thing that we can do with a picture is we can apply a picture style. So a lot of picture styles are built in, just different frames and different effects that we can use. Here's my favorite, just a nice round or bevel rectangle. We also have picture effects that you can use to manage the picture. Right. So just different things that we can do. And another thing that we can do is we can align the picture. So if you click on the Align tab here, if you want to align it exactly in the middle. You can use it align middle vertically there. You can align center. So it's kind of centered on our actual slide. We can align it to the bottom and then to the left. So kind of that bottom left corner there. So we do have a lot of tools that we can use to be able to manage this particular image. I'll just go ahead and put it right there. For now, I'll just go ahead and put this in a nice little frame. I'll go for I'll use this one here and I'm good to go. So here are my objectives. I can add my text over here to kind of spell out my actual objectives and I'm good to go. But the main thing to know is that we have a lot of nice tools when interacting with our pictures, especially using the aspect ratio. If I want to, I can also resize the picture so that it fills up the slide, or I can use the fill option here as well. For our next tip, we do have some objectives in here. We want to achieve 10,000 website visitors, generate 15% more inquiries, and gain endorsements from 12 recommended influencers. So what I want to do is I want to go ahead and convert this into a SmartArt graphic. So that's another type of popular object in PowerPoint. It's creating a nice little infographic here. So what I can do is I can just go ahead and highlight my text here and I can click on the SmartArt graphic drop down here and I can go ahead and convert it to one of these different types of SmartArt graphics. Some of these will be a timeline, some will be a matrix, a Venn diagram, a list, and so forth and so on. So I'll go ahead and click on the first one here. So here's the very common vertical bullet list. So we're just creating some nice visuals. We're incorporating shapes with our actual text. We can also incorporate pictures in here as well if we want to. So we can choose any option that we want to. But the main idea is we can convert a bulleted list into a SmartArt graphic. So maybe for this one, I'll use the basic process here. You can also click on more SmartArt graphics and you can choose whether you want to express something as a list, as a process, or as a cycle. Picture, I want to express something as a list. So I'll look for a list here. So here's a basic one. And let's see, I'll scroll down. Let's see, I'll choose process. The process have some more modern shapes in here. I just want a vertical process. So this one right here, vertical process. I'll go ahead and press OK. Let's see what that looks like. And there we go. So that looks pretty good. Achieve 10,000 visitors, generate more inquiries, and gain endorsements. Right. I can even maybe shorten some of this text here. I'll leave it for now though. So here's my SmartArt graphic. Once I have my SmartArt, I can click on the SmartArt design tab here. And I can either change this to another type of graphic if I want to. So this one looks pretty good actually as well. Here's another one. So some will just kind of move your text around. Some are smaller or larger than the others. So that's why I like this one. Just really, really nice. We can change the colors. So again, the colors are based on the theme that you have created or selected. So we can change the colors that are in here. I'll go for a little contrast. So I'll go for this one here. And there we go. So now we can express our objectives with a really nice picture that has some formatting. And we have some SmartArt in here as well. I'll make the SmartArt a little bigger. And there we go. So that's how we can convert existing text into a SmartArt graphic. Feel free to change it. You can change the colors. You can convert it to another type of SmartArt graphic. And we also have SmartArt styles over here that you can use. So here's the simple fill. Here's the white outline. Here's more of a subtle effect. Here's a moderate, and here's an intense effect. So I'll just go ahead and give this the subtle effect. And there we go. So that's how we can create a SmartArt graphic from a bulleted list. A really nice tool in PowerPoint is the use of animations. If I click on the animations tab here and I select an object, we can animate different objects on a slide. Now, if animations are used in a clever way, they can be very, very helpful for your presentation. One of the really nice uses of animations is when you want to break down your slide into smaller parts. Or maybe you want to kind of just reveal the objects on your slide one at a time. Now, for our SmartArt graphic, we can actually animate our SmartArt graphic here, which is pretty cool. So I'll go ahead and just click on my SmartArt graphic, and I'll use a simple animation. I'll just use the fade animation. So we can see it's all grouped, so it comes in as one object here. But what I can do is I can change the effect options, and I want my SmartArt graphic to come in one by one. So this way, when I'm presenting the slide, I can reveal my objectives one at a time, as opposed to just disseminating or presenting all the information at once here. I'll choose one by one. And there we go. So if I just go into reading mode quickly in here, so here's my slide. I'll click, here's my first objective, here's my second objective, and here is my third objective as well. So it's a really nice tool because, as you can see, it does a couple of things. It allows you to have a little more control over the flow of your presentation because you're introducing things one at a time. And we're also not overloading the slide with a lot of information. Our audience can just kind of tune in and watch this slide actually grow, which is a much better way for them to decipher or interpret the actual slide here as well. So that's a nice use of animation. Now, we can animate other objects as well. We can apply the same principle here. So we can animate these shapes individually if we want to. There are different types of animations. So you have entrance animations. You also have exit animations. And down here in the bottom, you actually have some custom paths that you can use to actually create animation. The main thing to know is that some animations come with additional options, and you can also add more than one animation to an actual object. So for define your objective, I'll go ahead and apply a entrance animation. And then let's see if I can add an exit animation here as well. So I'll just say disappear. And then I'll do the same thing here, fade, and then disappear, and then fade, and then disappear. We can see the numbers here in the sequence. So this will fade and then disappear. This will fade and then disappear. And then this will fade and disappear as well. If I click on the animation pane, I can specify how long each animation will take. And I can also reorder them so I can have them in a different sequence here. But let's try that out. I'll click on the reading view here. So here's define your objectives, then it disappears. Here's determine your budget, and then it disappears. And then we have develop your message, and that disappears as well. So that's a pretty nice use of an animation. Let's take a look at the morph transition. Now, here's an example of how the morph transition works. Here we can see the original layout for phase 1. We have the objectives, we have the budget, and the need to develop the message as well. Well, if I go to the next slide, instead of kind of pushing or wiping to the next slide, this will give the appearance that things are just moving around on the same slide here. So if I just go ahead and click on my slide here, I can see things are just kind of moving and resizing. So they're just morphing into their shape and into their place as well. And that's a really, really nice feature. So I can do that for each of my actual objectives here, and I'm good to go. So let's see how we can go ahead and set that up. So for the morph transition, remember, we need to do 3 things. So we need to duplicate a slide, move things around, and then apply the morph transition. So I'm going to go ahead and duplicate the slide. So I'll just press Control D, and that will duplicate the slide for me. And on this first slide here, I want to focus on objectives. So I'll just change the text here to objectives. And then I'm just going to go ahead and move things around. So I'll move my objectives up here, and I'll put everything else kind of down here. Okay. I'll group these down here together to kind of just resize them. Just want to make them really small so they appear down here, kind of out of the way. And I'll fix the text as well. So just a little bit of setting up here. For this one, I'll just type the word budget in here just to kind of clean this up. I'll make it a little wider so we can actually see the text. There we go. For this one, I'll just put message in here. I'll do the same thing. So I'm kind of doing it have a lot of objects to work with here. I'll make these a little smaller again, because again, we just want to focus on the objectives. So I'll just put these over here. Okay, that's it for now. I'll make this really big, and I'll make it 4:6. I'll click on picture format. I'll just make it 4:6. There we go. So that looks good. I may increase the font size for here as well. And I'm good to go. So I did duplicate the slide and move things around. Now I'm going to apply the morph transition to all of my slides. So this second slide should morph into place, and then I can go ahead and duplicate that slide again. So I can have one slide for my three kind of goals here: the budget, the message, and the objectives. But I'll go ahead and run this in reading mode, and let's see what this looks like. Okay, so here's my first slide. I'll go ahead and click on the next one. And as you can see, everything is just kind of morphing into shape there as well. So that's how we can apply the morph transition. I'm going to go ahead and set up the other two, and then I'll go ahead and test it out again. So as you can see, I had them set up here. So the first one is objectives. The second one here is the budget. And the third one here is for develop. So I'll go ahead and run this in reading mode. Everything should be okay. Let me go back to the first slide here. So now as I go through, we can see it's morphing into, now we can focus on the objectives, and then on the budget, and then on developing our message as well. So that is the morph transition. Let's talk about the zoom tool. Now, if I click on the insert tab, I'll notice that we have a section here for zoom. Now, if I hover over it, it tells me pretty much what it does. So it allows me to present my content in a non-linear way. So I can create an interactive table of contents, or I can jump to specific slides and sections with the slide zoom. Well, let's see how that works. So I'll go to my second slide here. Now, when you're presenting, you may want to do something like be able to go back to the first slide. So if I'm on the last slide here, I have to kind of click back a few times to get back to the original slide. I can probably right click and use go to slide as well, but that's a little cumbersome while we're actually presenting. So what I would prefer to do is just maybe place a little icon up here on the top right, or maybe on the bottom. If I click on here, I can go back to some type of table of contents that will allow me to kind of just jump to different places in my document. So what I'll do, I'm going to go ahead and just take a look at the slide zoom here. I'm going to click on my second slide, and what I'm going to do is drag this slide and place it anywhere on this slide. So that's one way that we can insert the zoom without actually clicking here. So I'll go ahead and just drag this to right here. I'll let it go. And so it creates a little slide there for me. I'll go ahead and resize it. We can actually change this to another icon or another image if we want to, but just to see how it works. So there's my little slide zoom. Now if I present this, and if I click on here, this zooms me back in to that phase 1 slide, which is pretty cool. So that's just a quick demo of how the slide zoom works. I want to use the slide zoom to create a table of contents. So here's my slide. I'll go ahead and move this up on the list here. So my second slide is going to be my table of contents. Now I'll click on the Insert tab and I'll go ahead and insert a zoom. So I'll click on the drop down here. Now I can create a summary zoom, and this basically, if I had sections in my presentation, this will allow me to zoom to the first slide in that section. I don't want that right now. I don't have any sections. I want to create a slide zoom. Now I can zoom to any slide that I want to. So I'll go ahead and click on slide zoom. And it's asking me, well, which one of the slides do I want to be able to link to? Well, I do want to be able to link to all of them except for the existing slide. So I'll go ahead and add those four. 4 slides are selected. I'll go ahead and insert. They come in grouped. We just need to click on an empty space, and now we can go ahead and kind of move them around. So this is pretty nice, almost like a little website. So I'll just put this in order here. So I'll go phase 1, and then I'll go for the objectives, and then I'll go for the budget, then I'll go for the develop here as well. Go ahead and center to align this, and let's give this a quick test and let's see how that works. So if I click on phase 1, we can see it zooms in to phase 1 for me, which is pretty cool. But I do want a way to be able to go back to that table of contents. So I can insert a zoom right here for each of my slides. That way I can go back to the table of contents. So I'm going to go here. So for phase 1, I'll go ahead and drag the table of contents there. And now what I can do, so this is a link, so I can actually copy and paste this to my other slides, and these will actually work. What I want to do is I want to go ahead and change this into another type of image, or maybe an icon. That looks pretty good. But I'll go ahead and right click on it, and I'll click on change image, and let's see if I can find an image to use for this here. I do want to use an icon, something very subtle. So I'll look for something like, let's see, maybe a little start button. And no, maybe a little house. Our popular home button here. I'll go ahead and insert that. So here's my little home button. And of course, I can make some other changes to it. I can change the color if I want to. But I'll keep it simple here. I'll just make it pretty small. I'll try and align this right here. Let's give it a quick test, make sure it works. There you go. So now I can zoom to the table of contents, and now I can go back, zoom back to that first slide. So mission accomplished. The last thing to do, I can actually copy this to the clipboard, and I can paste this on each of my slides. So I'll just press Ctrl V. There you go. I'm good to go. Just push these up a little bit. Typically it snaps right into the same location. Did not do that here. That's okay. All right, so now we have a way to navigate back and forth. So let's give it one final run. I'll go to the first slide. I'll go into reading mode. And now I want to go to the table of contents. From the table of contents, let's talk about the budget. Let's go back to the table of contents. There we go. So just some tips and tricks on how to use the zoom feature to our advantage. Another key tip is to use the presenter view. The presenter view allows us to just demonstrate more control over owning our presentation. I want to make sure it's turned on, so I'll click on the slideshow tab. I'll go ahead and make sure my presenter view is turned on. And I do have two monitors, so I'll specify the monitor that I want to present on and have my presenter view on. So I'll go ahead and turn this on here. And for my main display, it's going to display on my primary monitor. So my presenter view is going to be on this screen. So I'll go ahead and present. I can press F5 or I can just click on play, start from the beginning here. And so here's the presenter view. Now, the benefit of using the presenter view, on my other screen, my audience can only see what's inside of this window. They cannot see all the tools that I'm interacting with here. For example, one of the benefits is I can see the animation and or the slide that's coming next. So this way you're prepared for the next animation or the next slide. Down here on the bottom, we have our slide controls. So we can just kind of navigate through our slides here. And we have a lot of different tools. So here we have the annotation tools, the laser pointer. We can kind of navigate to the different slides here if we want to jump to a slide. So for example, if I click here, my audience is not seeing this. They're still seeing only that first slide, but I can jump to another slide here if I want to. I'll go to the next slide. There's our nice morph transition. There we go. And this is a major benefit of using the presenter view. When we have notes, they appear here in our presenter view. And this is an excellent way to add context to your slide. Right now, my audience is only seeing a couple of visuals and a couple of keywords, but now I can give context to the slide by referring to my actual notes. So I want to increase brand awareness, I want to generate leads, and I want to boost website traffic. As a matter of fact, we want to achieve a 25% increase in website traffic in the first 3 months. So pretty cool. I'll head on over to the next one here. And here are our talking points for this particular slide. We have our budget. Now, of course, we don't want to overload the slide with this information here. So having it in the notes and being able to refer to it is a pretty nice option. If we want to, we can turn on the subtitles from here as well. And we can come on screen if we toggle our camera. So just some really nice options that we can use. Also for engagement, we can go ahead and black out the slideshow, have a little whiteboard that we can use to just kind of write on here as well. So here's the laser pointer. I can use that. And I can also go ahead and use the pen and I can annotate as well. So definitely use the presenter view. It will give you more control over your presentation. In some cases, you may want to go ahead and export your PowerPoint presentation into another format. A very popular format is to export to PDF. This is a great option because it preserves any links that you may have in the actual presentation. We can also record a video where we can kind of practice and record all of the timings in there as well. And we can also change the file type. So I can click on change file type. And some of the notable mentions in here is I can create a PowerPoint presentation where each slide is just a picture. So we cannot necessarily interact with the objects on the slide, but they're just a picture there. It's kind of a nice way to just kind of protect the actual presentation. You can also save it as a presentation so that it automatically opens as a slideshow. So there are many different options in here that we can use. We can check them out, all out here. My favorite is just to create a PDF. So if I click on create PDF here, I'll go ahead and click on create PDF. And I'll just go ahead and save this as a PDF. I'm using Windows 11, so I have the options button here. I do want to make sure that I'm selecting all of my slides. I can include any comments or any ink that's on here. I do want to make sure that I'm PDFA compliant. So I'll go ahead here and I'll go ahead and press OK. I'll go ahead and publish this and let's see what that looks like. I'll bring that over here. And so here's the first slide. And here are all the different slides. So of course, animations and transitions will not work. This is a basic printout of the actual file. Let's see if my links work here back to my home. Look at that. So that's pretty cool. Let's see if I can jump to another slide from my table of contents. So that's what I like about using the PDF export option. We preserve all of the links, internal and or external, within the presentation. So that is how we can export to PDF. We can see it preserves all of the colors and the images really, really nicely. Congrats on completing the course. Just as a quick recap, we learned the concept of starting with an outline, either by typing the outline in the outline view or inserting slides from an outline. We were able to take a look at some design with the Slide Master. We took a look at how we can work with objects by using the rulers and the guides and the grid lines as well. We also learned about different ways to incorporate animations and transitions. And then finally, we're able to prepare to present and or deliver our presentation. So congrats on completing the course and enjoy PowerPoint.